She was beautiful. She was cunning. And with just a whisper, she brought a mighty warrior to his knees. This is not just a story about betrayal. This is a story about power, seduction, secrets, and scissors. What was Delilah's deadly secret? Was she a tool of fate, or a woman who chose destruction for a price? And how did one man's strength unravel under the soft hands of a woman cloaked in mystery? Tonight, we uncover the untold side of a woman history often villainized, but rarely understood. This is the story of Delilah, the woman behind the scissors. To understand Delilah, we must first step into her world, a world steeped in blood, conquest, and rebellion. The land of the Philistines pulsed with fear and fury. They were a proud people, warriors of the coast, inventors of iron weapons, rulers of trade. But in the midst of their cities and shrines, a single man haunted their empire like a ghost. His name was Samson. He didn't come with armies. He didn't ride chariots or command soldiers. But wherever he went, Philistine warriors fell like wheat under the sickle. His strength was unnatural. His rage was uncontrollable. And his loyalty? Torn between the God of Israel and his own forbidden desires. Samson, the man who burned their fields, crushed their men, tore down their gates, and turned wedding feasts into bloodbaths. To the Philistines, he was a monster in human flesh. But to one woman, he was a mystery worth unraveling. Delilah's name means delicate in Hebrew, but her spirit was anything but delicate. She was a woman of fierce independence, sensual intelligence, and strategic charm. In a culture where men held the reins of power, Delilah held something far more dangerous: influence. The Bible never tells us her lineage. Was she a Philistine by blood? A seductress trained in the temples of Dagon? Or a woman simply trying to survive in a man's world? What we do know is this: she lived in the valley of Sorek, a fertile, volatile place where vines grew thick and tensions thicker. And when Samson saw her, something inside him surrendered. He had fallen before for a Philistine woman in Timnah, and then for a harlot in Gaza. But this was different. Delilah was no common lover. She was a temptress wrapped in velvet and steel. And when Samson laid his head in her lap, he laid more than his heart. He laid his destiny. Delilah's beauty caught Samson's eye, but it was the Philistine rulers who noticed her power. They came with silver in their hands and poison in their words. "Entice him," they said. "Find the source of his strength, and we'll each give you 1,100 pieces of silver." It was a fortune, enough to buy estates, servants, security, and in a world where women had little power, it was also enough to buy freedom. But was Delilah driven by greed or fear? Did she see the cracks in Samson's armor and decide to exploit them? Or was she threatened into compliance by men more ruthless than she could resist? Whatever her motive, she agreed. And the game of deceit began. Night after night, Samson visited her. She touched his face, whispered in his ear, lulled him with soft laughter and probing questions. She asked him, "Tell me the secret of your strength." At first, Samson played games. "If you bind me with 7 fresh bowstrings, I'll be as weak as any man." She tried it. He broke free. Again, "If you bind me with new ropes never used before." She tried again. He snapped them like threads. Delilah wasn't foolish. She knew he was lying, but she also knew something deeper. He needed her. Samson had lost his first wife, been betrayed by his own people, and wandered like a wounded animal. Delilah gave him comfort, companionship, and passion. And slowly, inch by inch, she worked her way into the sacred vault of his soul. She wept, she nagged, she clung. How can you say you love me when you keep secrets from me? It was not just manipulation, it was warfare. And Samson, for all his strength, was no match for her persistence. Finally, broken by desire and weariness, Samson told her everything. "No razor has ever touched my head," he confessed. "I am a Nazirite, set apart for God from birth. If my hair is cut, my strength will leave me, and I will become weak like any other man." It was not just a secret. It was a vow, his last tie to the divine. And he handed it to Delilah like a gift. That night, as he lay asleep with his head in her lap, Delilah summoned a man with a blade. Each lock of his hair fell in silence, and with it, so did the power that had terrified a nation. Then came the chains, the hot iron pokers, the mocking crowds, the eyes gouged out. And Delilah? She vanished from the story and the parchers, her mission complete. Here lies the deeper question. Was Delilah a villain or a victim of her time? Did she act out of selfish greed? Or was she coerced by a system where women's choices were limited to survival or silence? Was she simply playing the role men expected of her, a seductress, a betrayer, a symbol of downfall? Or was she something far more dangerous? A woman who refused to be powerless in a world ruled by strength? We will never know her thoughts. But we know this: Delilah was not passive. She acted, chose, negotiated, and won. And that, perhaps, is what frightened history most. Samson's story did not end in blindness and defeat. In the temple of Dagon, chained and humiliated, he prayed. And God, who had departed from him, returned. With one final act of strength, he collapsed the temple, killing more in his death than in his life. It was a redemption arc, but a costly one. And Delilah? She remains outside that arc. No repentance, no punishment, no redemption, just mystery. She was not killed. She was not judged. She was not even named again. She fades into history like a shadow behind silk, but her impact echoes louder than most. Delilah was beautiful. She was cunning, and with just a whisper, she brought a mighty warrior to his knees. She didn't wield a sword, but she changed the course of a nation. She didn't fight in a war, but she won one in a bedroom. And though history may judge her, she is not easily forgotten. Because Delilah was not just a woman, she was a mirror, reflecting our fears of feminine power, our discomfort with mystery, and our need to blame someone when the mighty fall. This was her deadly secret. She understood the heart of a man who could lift city gates but could not carry the weight of love and trust. She knew that sometimes the softest hands hold the sharpest blades, and behind the scissors was a woman who dared to choose her own story. If this story challenged what you thought you knew about Delilah, make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel for more untold, powerful stories from the Bible that dig deep into the human soul. And don't forget to comment below. What part of Delilah's story surprised you the most? Was she a villain or a woman making choices in a world that gave her so few? Let's talk about it, because sometimes the ones we think we know are the ones we understand the least. Thanks for watching.